Okay, so I guess this is all for now. Let me see in here. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen, and hopefully everybody can see my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep.
It's all good. Okay,
It's there.
Okay, so what we focus on today pretty much is more or less like property set data. Now, property sets I guess were introduced back in 2017. So the idea to this one is like pretty much it adds another level of to an object. Pretty much it adds another level of data that you can add. They can be used in specific, let's say labels and stuff. So like you can use like labels for typically for any like Civil3D objects. You can have labels for surfaces. You might have labels for what's called alignments. So yeah, so pretty much the idea of this one extends that one by allowing you to add extra properties that you can use into the labels. So for example, if I use here a polyline, this is my case for a polyline. If I go to the properties for this object, you're gonna see that I have all this data in here. Now, people that are familiar with AutoCAD map or Autodesk map, they know that they can add more stuff like under the extended data right in here, but the data cannot be used for any like Civil3D labeling. Yeah. So the idea to this one is like I'm trying to add some data to this object that can be used for the labeling purposes. So you wonder like why would you do that one or where would you do that one? It's typically in this one, and I'm gonna show like what we're looking at right now. This is like my this is my utility base file. So utility base file, you're gonna see that I have this type of labels. It's existing 8-inch concrete, or you might have like existing 2-inch gas and stuff. So data to this stuff, these ones were like static labels. So what happens like if your sheet it's upside down, you have to deal with like flipping objects around. Yeah. So if I do it here, I'm gonna flip this one upside down. You're gonna see that this one looks the right way. Let me see if this one maybe like this way, the other way around. So you're gonna see right now it's like it's upside down. Yeah. So in that case, you'll have to figure out like in your sheet maybe turn it off, copy the data, flip it over, and make everything readable. Of course, like a Civil3D object, like a pipe, the label gonna flip itself. But what if we could add that property to, let's say, to like a polyline? Yeah. So I have a polyline. Can I do that for a polyline? And the answer is with property sets, yes, you can do it. Yeah. So how you define the property sets? I'm gonna look in this cat file, which is like the one that we just made right now, and I'm gonna show like how to define a property set. Pretty much the idea to it. Yeah. So property set is defined from under the Manage tab right in here. You're gonna find it here the property set data. So if you see here define property sets, you're gonna click on this button, and you have this style manager in here. Now it's typically gonna have all the files that you have open. So right now it's in drawing 3, that's the one I'm working on. This property says definition. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna right click on this one. It says a new one. I'm gonna give it the name. I'm gonna say COA for us. Let's say I'm gonna call it polyline. So I'm gonna enable polyline. Typically I make like property sets like will be like specific to the type of object and specific to the type of function that you're gonna be. So for example, it'd be a polyline utility. It'd be like maybe a polyline let's say easement or that kind of stuff. Yeah. So if I say here polyline, let's say just leave it as polyline for now. This is the property set. So in the same way it says it's a set, that means this one is gonna have a set of objects, pretty much a set of definitions. Yeah. So the property says definitions, and on the set you can have multiple multiple definitions. Yeah. So to define a definition, once you have the polyline, you're gonna go in here like to this button here. You're gonna see like you have a buttons here to add manual. You have some of them to add automatic property definitions, and so you have lots of options. For now, for our purposes, you can do like you can expand a lot, automatically doing lots of stuff. But for us, we're looking into the manual. Yeah. So pretty much you try to add manual data to our to the objects. So I'm gonna go here and add the manual one. I'm gonna ask you here the name. I'm gonna say here maybe for is it description. So I'm gonna say the description start to default. I don't have any other templates. So I'm gonna say description. It'd be the property types will be a text or an integer or real. So it typically is a text. And here I'm gonna put as a default. I'm gonna say like change me. So pretty much I'm gonna say like change me. So every time I add this object or this property to a polyline, you're gonna be default set up to change me, and then the user gonna have to go and do that one. So there you go. I define the first property set. You're gonna call for the polyline, You're gonna be like the description. Now in here, before you finalize in here, you select which type of object this one applies. Yeah, you define the name is polyline, the set is defined in the description, and then you here have to go to applies to. So in here you have an object, so you're gonna see here you have a plethora of objects. You can select which one I'm looking for. Yeah, so the one I'm looking for is like I want to apply this property set definition to polylines. You see, you can apply them to feature lines. So you can add this set definition to a feature line. The one I'm looking at in here, I'm gonna say the lines. So look in here, the lines. I don't think it has a polyline. Pretty much everything it's contain. You know, it's considered as a line. Let me see. Do I have a polyline in here? So lines. Oh, very good. I have polylines. So I could say line or polyline or a segment. The way you access polyline 2D, you can even add it to polyline 3D. So there you go. I select it. You're gonna be applying to lines, polylines, polylines 2D, and polyline 3D. And click OK. And there you go. I have the first property definition done. So how would I apply it to this object? I'm gonna select this object, and then in the properties right in here, I'm gonna minimize this mugshot in here. I'm gonna go here to the extended data, and I extended data. You can see that you have this data. This is typically from AutoCAD, but you have a button on the bottom right here. It says Add Property Sets. Yeah. So I'm gonna click on this one, and from the list, you're gonna ask me which property set I want to add. You know, and the one I define is the polyline. And as soon as I define as soon as I add the polyline property set, if I go back to the properties for the object, so I'm gonna go here to Object, Properties. You're gonna see that right in here it says like one that says change me. Yeah. So how would I use this one in the label? Of course, I can say change me now. Let's say I'm gonna change it to say change me now. There you go. I update the property set for this one. So let's build a label for this object right in here. So I'm gonna want to label this object, you know, using the with the label that we using like a label that uses the property sets that we just defined. So I'm gonna go to the tool space. I'm gonna go here to settings. Now since this one is supposed to be a line label, I'm gonna go under general, label styles, lines, and I'm gonna make one in here. It says like new label style, and call it in here new label style. So I'm gonna say new, and I'm gonna call it in here standard property set. Standard property set. There you go. There you go. So I will start in here. Now he's asking you here for general. I'm gonna go. Everybody should know by now. General. Go to the layout. You have the table tag, and then you have direction bearing and distance. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna delete this one. I do not care about it. Direction arrow, I'm gonna just remove that one. Table tag, I can leave it on. Bearing in here, I'm gonna call it as property set. So property set right there. Now in here, like if I click OK on this stuff, you're gonna see I'm not changing anything for now. And I'm gonna go here and add the label. Pretty much I'm gonna say add this one label. I'm gonna go to annotate, add a label, and from the list here gonna be a line and curve, and I'm gonna change here to standard property sets. So I'm gonna add and add the label right to this stuff. So if I go in here based on this scale, let's change it maybe to a 10 scale to say it bigger right there. So there you go, I have my label. Now of course this one, if I flip my my view, you're gonna be like always readable. Yeah. So because of that one, I'm gonna say like here now I'm gonna update the content of the label style to reflect the property set. So how would I go about that one? I'm gonna go to the tool space in here. I'm gonna take my standard property sets label. I can say edit, and now we're gonna go here under the property set. I'm gonna go in this section here and add the property set. Now how is that one done with the property sets? I'm going to delete this one, and you have to define the property sets. Now if you look at how this one is defined, it's in the same kind of sense way. So if I go in here, take away let's go back to it and stuff and look at how it's defined. So you're going to see it's like pretty much it starts with like the left arrow, and then like the square bracket and stuff. So it's kind of done in the same way. So I'm gonna go here and define it. So the way we are defined for lines and polylines. If you don't see the property set, you're gonna do it like this stuff. So I'm gonna put, maybe I should change this on the format, the color to something so you can actually see it. Cyan. So I'm gonna say maybe your color white. I'm gonna put it white. Okay, right there. So I put like this. I'm gonna put like open the square bracket, and right in here I'm gonna say property set. So that's a PS property set, and then gonna be like in here polyline. So pretty much the property set is called polyline, and then like the two dots in here, and this is gonna be description. So under the polyline property set, so it'll be a property set column polyline column description. And once you type description, I'm gonna put in here, I'm gonna put close the bracket, and then I'm gonna put here the arrow, and there you go, click OK. This is like polyline description. That's what I start. So I'm gonna click OK in here, and driver, I have it, it says change me now. So now the only stuff I have to do on this one, I'm gonna go here to the properties and tell test. There we go, test, and enter, and right there I have my label. Yeah, so pretty much I can apply this property set. So if I have another polyline like right here, I can go in here to this one. I can go to properties for this polyline. I can go to the extended data, and I'm going to click on this stuff, add the property set, and then I can go here to add the label, and the label goes to the default change me. Yeah, so for example, if that by default it should be like a specific format, let's say that you want to kind of call it out, you can define the specific format in the default for the property set. It'll be filled in, and then the user just have to fill in the data. Yeah, so this is pretty much kind of the basis to it. You can define the property sets, you can define to what applies, which type of object. And if you said in the way we showed it before, like here the define property sets, you're gonna see that in here for the, let's say, polyline definition, there are multiple options to define. Add an automatic property definition, or you can put a formula. Now I don't know, it's like I didn't go through all this stuff in here because I didn't expand too much. For us, we stopped only at the manual one, because that's all we care right now. At this moment when we look at that, it's like, hey, how can we speed up the process for labeling and have the data so I do not have to add multiple labels in multiple places. Yeah, so typically we label all of our data in the base file, and then the base files we are referencing the production files, and then all that label, it's pretty much it's flips as it needs. Yeah, so you have my multiple options in here. You can see add material property definition, you can add multiple stuff, classification. I didn't expand for this one. Maybe this would be like an agenda for us, maybe a full class and stuff, like a full expansion on this stuff, and maybe it'll be something that I can look into it. But for now, I can give you the introduction to the property sets, and to the one that we typically use. Yeah, so any questions up to this point? Let me see here. Questions? No questions? Seems easy. Great. Okay, so now let me show how we use it. Maybe the cases that you use it. Because I show how to define the property sets. Now I'm gonna go in here and gonna show how do we try to use it. Stuff. So one of them it would be in here for us. I'm gonna close in here. Close this file. No. Leave the X project view side. Yeah, there you go. So one of the cases that we try to use it for is to be the utility base file. So I have a utility base file. It's a 2D file, of course, just line work, and we try to label all this data, but we try to make sure that all this data is always readable. So how we do the ton of property sets. So what we did in this base file, if I go here to define property sets, you're gonna see for this one I defined two of them. One of them is the polyline utility that has the utility description. And in here line under the default, it says it says a pound, inches, material, project, and status. So pretty much I provide the user this specific default one. So every time he adds a label, this is gonna want to show up and he has to fill it out. Yeah. And then the other property set definition I added is the one that applies to Kogo points. So where would I use this stuff in here? I'm gonna show one of them. One of the cases for for the utilities. So right now in here, I want to add maybe you see this is a static label. So every time I flip stuff around, this one doesn't modify. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to replace this data with dynamic labels that flip other stuff. So pretty much Civil3D labels. So to do that one in here, I'm gonna select in here. I'm gonna select the object in here. I'll go here to the tools to the properties for the object. I'm going to go to extended data, and I'm going to click on the button on the bottom. Click on that one, and the one I'm looking is the polynomial utility. Click OK. There you go, it's added. Now I'm going to go here to annotate. I'm going to say add a label, and in here I'm going to say line and curve. So right in here, see you see the line existing. That's the one we're going to use. And click add, and right there. So pretty much, my label says existing pound inches material. So the only stuff the user has to go in here, you have to select the object, and go to the properties, and in here to say like this will be like 8 inches. So it'd be like 8 inches, and then it'd be like concrete, and then he has to do anything else, gonna be like the stuff, otherwise they remove the stuff, and there you go. I have the data. Now this data, it's assigned to this object, so pretty much it can be moved around. It's a Civil3D label, and you can play with pretty much of the label the way you want them for them to be. Now in the same sense, in here we also created, so pretty much we created the label style, but also created the curve label style. Yeah. So for example, in here, if I have a curve and I want to label this stuff in here, it's a polyline, but because it's like if I had the line label, I cannot do it for this one. Yeah. So if this one is a 6-inch CI, I'm going to select this object. I'm going to go to the properties in here, and I'm going to go to the bottom, and I'm going to attach in here. I'm going to add the COA polynomial utility. Now I'm going to go in here. I know it's a 6-inch CI. I'm going to delete that label. Looks like I cannot delete lots of stuff in there. There you go. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to say add single segment. You're going to see that this is pretty much it's a curve in a polyline. And you can see the text, it's curved based on pretty much the setting that I defined for the label. So now I have a label that's curved to the object. So I can go here to the object. I'm going to go to properties, and this is going to be like a 6-inch CI. So I'm going to say 6-inch, and my label takes care of the rest. So pretty much my label style, the way it's defined, it's existing 6-inch CI. Yeah? Now you have to pay attention here, because let's say if I break an object, you're gonna see this pretty much this label applies for the object from here to here. Yeah. So let's say if I say okay, this one maybe it was 8 inches and it was 12 inches from this one going forward. So if I break this object at this location, I'm gonna say break. I'm gonna say this one right in here. Let me see, break hat. I have this in my command, but I have here break hat right there. What happens in here, this label transfers to one of the objects. So pretty much it's split in two. If I go to this one, if I go to the properties, you can see this one, it's a pretty much when you split an object in two, one of them remains as the original one, and the other one, the split is created as a second object. Yeah. So what I have to go in here, I have to pretty much I have to add the property set again. Yeah. So I'm gonna click on this one. So I'm gonna click OK. So if I want to label that one here to apply a label. But what's nice about this stuff in here, I can select this one and this one. Let's say I'm gonna add the label. Let's see, I'm gonna show you what's nice about it. I can add the label. There it goes. This one has pretty much the default for a new object. But I can go here, I can select the two of them. I can go here to properties, and pretty much it says varies. Of course it varies. So I'm gonna put 8-inch concrete, click enter. Now let's see here, region. Maybe I didn't do it the right way. Let's go here to properties again. So it'll be 8-inch concrete, enter. So there you go. I can select multiple objects, and I can apply the same properties. So if I know I have to apply the same property to multiple ones, I just add the property set to the object, and then I add the labels, and I'm good to go on that one. Yeah. So that's about line work. Now another one that we added, it's pretty much is labeling the let's say the manholes, yeah, where the city requires an ID. And for this one, we use a node, like a Google point that we place, and then the label start for the Google point takes the property set. Yeah. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna pretty much the way I do this stuff, I create an object like a point. So I'm gonna say point creation tools. So I'm gonna create here the point, and I place it at the center of the object. I don't have to put in description. I just click enter. There you go. It's a point. So you're gonna see by default it comes up with this property in here. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to select the point, and then I'm going to go here to the properties for the point. I'm going to go here to the extended properties. I'm going to click on the button here on the bottom, and because I have a property that can apply only to Google points, it provides that one. Click OK. Now I'm going to say here's the ID 12345 change me. So I'm gonna do here, it's exactly exactly that one. So if I know that this one is actually is 93855, I can go here to the places like 93855, and then for this one maybe I do not need it, so I'm gonna say enter. So there you go, I have my label that's 3D, that pretty much is like it's almost it's readable always. So if I rotate this one, if I rotate in which way and stuff, it's always readable. I can take this label because it's the label of a cocoa point, and I can drag it, and there you go, I pretty much I can play with that one. So there you go, I have the label for like for the appurtenances or the manholes and stuff, and then I have the labels for the lines.
Would you have to copy every time would you have to do that every time? Could you make a copy?
You could, yeah. So the idea is that to this one, so the idea to this one, let's say if I have this stuff in here, I can copy the I can copy the Kogo, it creates a second one, yeah. So if I say copy this one, I can take this stuff here because it's copying a point in here, and maybe I'm gonna put it in here, and they're gonna be like we use the next point number. So right here I have the point number 2, and to this one I can pretty much add the new ID. You don't have to go through that one, yeah. Now, because this one, even if when it's copied, it also copies the property for it. So you're gonna see it copies the property for it and stuff. Now in the same way, since as here for like what's called for the line, I forgot where's my line in here, where my labeled, maybe I have to find my line. Where's my line? Ooh, I lost it. So maybe I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it virtual like this. Maybe I'm gonna find it later sometime. Maybe I'm gonna Q select. If I do a Q select, pretty fast Q select, I should be fine with that one. But so I'm gonna say multiple here. I'm gonna say multiple segments, layer, line type by layer. Alright, so it's my location. Now on this one, so like if I copy, I cannot copy the label because pretty much the label goes with the object, and of course I can copy the object and the label. So if I say here copy the two of them, they're gonna be copied, and they stay the same, So pretty much I can take this stuff here and move it. Copy, come on, this one, the two of them. I can copy, and this one it's a new segment, but he maintains that one. So pretty much I can take this stuff here from here and pretty much let's say connect to that one and do that stuff in here, yeah. So you can do the stuff here, but there's no way to do like a match properties as far as I know right now. There's no way for me to say like from here, let's say I would do match properties from here, like apply the same kind of stuff to the other one. Okay, if I go to this one, or maybe it is yet, but there's no way. So pretty much all this data has to be added manually. So I have to go to here, click OK, then I can pretty much get the label and all that stuff. So it is like you do it only once, but you're good to go, you're done with it, and that's all there is to it, yeah. So this is pretty much what I use it for utilities. Pretty much call out the utilities, the existing utilities, because the existing utilities for us is very more or less like 2D line work. We call out the existing utilities, and then when we reference the base file in the production files, the utilities were labeled, and I don't have to worry about like flipping labels up back and forth. Another location where we do this stuff in here, I'm gonna show like maybe another way that you could employ it, and this is the same principle for line labels and stuff. It's in my V side. This is my survey base file. So the survey base file, I was thinking like where can I use this stuff in here? And typically another place where we have issues with non-readable data, it's more or less like on the easements. So for example, like if I have the easements, now this one might show the right way, might show the right way in a CAD file, but might show the wrong way pretty much in the sheet, might show the wrong way in the other one. So it's like hey, can I do the same stuff that I did for utilities? Yes, I can. So I'm gonna go here, for example, if I go here to the manage my property sets for this one, you're gonna see that I define one says Kogo utility. I have one the easement. I have a polyline easement, so pretty much maybe this one I have to remove it, but I have polyline easement, polyline right away, polyline street, and polyline utilities. So pretty much the ones I'm looking for is the polyline easements and stuff. So if I have to label this one, the easement right in here, there's a 5-inch PV. Maybe I'm gonna copy this data right in here, because this is what I get from the surveyor. I copy this one, so I'm going to copy this one, Control C. So I copy the data, and I'm going to add a Civil3D label to this one. So I'm going to go here to annotate, I'm going to add the label. So I'm going to go here to be like a line and curve, and for me the one I'm looking for it to be a street Where's my stuff in here? Easement existing. So I'm gonna say add. So I'm gonna go in here, add, select a point on entity. I'm gonna select this object, arrival. Maybe I'm gonna take some from here and move it so you can see the difference. So arrival. So this is my, this is my line, my label. So the only stuff I have to do this stuff in here, pretty much I have to add, the properties to the object. So I'm gonna go to the properties. I'm gonna click here to the extended data. Click on this one. I'm gonna see uncheck all, clear all, and I'm gonna look polyline easement and click OK. And it says 5 VPU. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna go to the object. Since I added the data, oh, the other one, sorry. So if this is the one I'm looking for, and I'm gonna do that one right there. So right there I have my label that's dynamic. So for example, anytime I do here flipping up and down, this one will always look the right way up because it's a Civil3D label. So I use this stuff. This is one way to use it and stuff for the easement. Another thing that we looked at, it was the street text, because the street text typically it flips, it shows the right one on one, it shows the wrong one on another one. But in here with one is hey, I have this piece of text, but I do not have any line in the same way as I have it in here. Pretty much here I label the easement because I have a line for the easement. But for the street text, it's hey, how can I make how can I label the street without a line? So the idea to this stuff, what it came to us, or what it came to me to use, pretty much I'm gonna use a line that's placed in a non-plottable layer. So if I go in here, I'm gonna say here, let me say, do I have a V? Let me see layer properties in here. Xref minus. So I'm gonna put it in a Geno plot. So this one doesn't plot. I'm gonna put a polyline. So I'm gonna say a polyline. Like this. So pretty much right here. There you go. It's a polyline. This one doesn't plot. It just shows up in there. I'm gonna go here to annotate. So I'm gonna go here in the drop down. I'm gonna look for the street name existing and click add. And I'm gonna go here selecting the polyline. And it shows me this stuff in here for it. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna take this stuff from here. So there's my label stuff for the street. And I'm gonna do here is West Market Drive. So I'm gonna select the object. I'm gonna go here to the properties, extended data. I'm gonna add the street. So from now for here, I'm gonna say clear or. I'm gonna add the polyline street and polyline right away, because this is how we do it on our stuff in here. Say street name, so many right away. So I'm gonna do here the properties again. For the pretty much now select the object, and here for the street data, I'm gonna be pretty much West Market Drive. And then here gonna be pretty much I provide the data for it, and this will be here 50 feet right away. And there you go, I have my label, so pretty much when I print the stuff in here, depending, I can flip it upside up and down, it doesn't matter. This one will always be readable. Of course all this stuff goes on the top, but you can pretty much play around with let's say if you want to, you can build a label that flips the data around and help the stuff. But for us it doesn't matter too much as long as the label looks the right way. So I have the data. That's pretty much what to use it for. Right for now we use it for let's say for line labels and pretty much ID of objects and stuff. We're looking down the road to use it for more, but this is pretty much what to use it for. Yeah. So any questions to that?
Do you know if there's any way to extract data from the things you're attaching, or are you always going to have to manually type in?
So there is I'm looking to that one because there is what I'm looking at is how can I time the GS with the with the data. So last time I checked on stuff on Autodesk side, looks like they're working, pretty much lots of people that say these properties are all so good and stuff, but how can I push it back and forward, because you remember for line work and stuff, you can, when you import line work from GS and stuff, you can import the object data, but it's can I do the same stuff and add the properties right from the stuff, or do it the other way around? As far as I know, right now there's not a pipeline to push data back and forth. So it looks like for now, like for the line work, at least where it says, that's why it says it's a manually. I'm gonna look down the road if it's anything that you can be, make automatically and stuff. But for now, it's just a manual. But for us, it's like this. Like for us, like doing manual is done once, and I'm good to go on this stuff. Of course, you want to speed up the process, and maybe down the road we're gonna get to that one. But it's like it's a start for us. This is what to use it for. Kind of give you an idea where it can be used, and you can take and stuff. Of course, you can use Civil3D labels, for example, for property text, yeah. But for us, I was like, okay, property text, doesn't have to be like oriented to a line and stuff. It has to be oriented to the view. So for our purposes, the property text, I can use a Civil3D label that's oriented to the view, or I can use annotative text, yeah, because annotative text, I can set it up to be always like pretty much rotated to the viewport, yeah. So I can do that way too, but there are many ways to be done for us. Like we just started using the proper sets, and find a good use for them, for utilities, for the callouts, and for the street name or the easements text, yeah. But of course, down the road maybe you might find that a different use for them. And as I said before, looking online, you can find the proper sets that have been used for like for automatic calculation of volumes. So for example, if I want to calculate the volume specific with stuff, you can make a formula and calculates it automatically, and updates it based on your the data that's updated in your CAD file. But we didn't dive into that one yet. We might dive in it, depending on if we have time and stuff. But this is what we have for now. So
Does the proper set data can it be accessed through an XREF?
Like accessing what? In the sense of like modifying or what?
For example, if you've got something labeled in the base file, you've got a property set or object data, in that element, like say the street text.
So you want
use the right-of-way line itself and I apply it there, but then if I go in a sheet and I want to add an additional street label so that it shows up on that page, like if it's a grid based.
Is the same like when you say reference labels, like the way they did for like the alignments,
like labeling contours in an XREF.
Yeah, it's like the one that they tell you to never use. Yeah, it's I've not tried that one, but I don't think it's possible on that one. Let me I can always check on this stuff. So right in here if I attach in here XREF in here, if I attach the my view site, yeah. So I'm gonna say here this is my view site, because I can label an object from there, yeah. But I don't think it's possible. Pretty much the object has to be like stuff. So I'm gonna see annotate. Let me see, add a label. It might pretty much it's a good question there, like Tom. So it'll be like maybe let's say here easement. Let's put easement existing. I don't care about it. I just want to see like if it's actually possible. Select a point on entity. It looks like it works there. But now how do I put the data for it? Or maybe like if it's already there, maybe that's why you said no.
Yes, pick one that already has the the data set up.
Let me do it this way, because it's like maybe start at let's say cancel stuff. Let me go back to the file in here. I'm gonna start a new file from the template that I have for this one, yeah, and I'm gonna attach the utilities, so I have the same data, yeah, pretty much the same property sets. Because it looks like pretty much my property sets were defined specific for the template, because I do not work with them, one of them for utilities and the other one for like specific one. So in here I'm gonna XREF in here. I'm gonna XREF in here the view site, my utility base file, and click open. And I'm gonna look for the location where I actually added the stuff for it, yeah. And it looks like it might work, that one. Zoom extend, and I'm looking for where's my stuff. Now I have to open that file again because I forgot where I put my labels. Okay, did I save the file? Hopefully I saved the file. If not, I can edit it again. So I'm gonna pretty much put it this on north like this. I'm gonna put it maybe on this location here. So I'm gonna put it on this stuff. I'm gonna go to the properties. I'm gonna go to the extended data. I'm gonna add it. It says here polyline utility, and I go back to this one. I go to properties, and I say like here test. So pretty much the proper stuff is test. I'm gonna go here to annotate, add the label, be a line and curve. It'll be like very existing test. So I'm gonna see a save. I'm going back to my drawing 4 that has this base file attached in it. I'm gonna go here to reload. Now I'm gonna see it right in here. That's nice. So now here I'm gonna say annotate. So I'm gonna say add the label. Now the label has to be the same one because there's stuff. Line and curve. So it'll be 3 line and click add. So I add in here, and it works well. So it works. It works for the. It works also for the reference. Yeah. So if by any chance your reference get detached from the CAD file, the label is gone too. So I mean, that's the issue that you're gonna have, pretty much, with data that you label from the reference, yeah. But to this stuff, in the both in the production files and the other one, the label should be you should have the label style and that property set defined, because or maybe only the label style, because you don't necessarily need a property set. Now the issue that I've seen lots of times is like if you have already an existing file that you have to import the properties from another one, you can have an issue with label stuff, because pretty much looks like yes, you can redefine and stuff, but lots of times I've seen like stuff where stuff breaks apart, in the sense that the label is looked for proper sets, but looks like in the word, the way that imported, the order matters sometimes, and as AutoCAD is very good at putting the stuff in the wrong order, like in blocks and stuff where stuff goes on top and the other one, it looks like it has the same stuff and ID, because every time we define a property sets, it assigns an ID to it, property set number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when you import the property set from another file to yours, you might have an issue where the stuff, the order of the property sets, it's changed, and the label, even though the label, is supposed to point to the right one, it doesn't find the right one, yeah. So the to this one is like typically, if you start with the template with the right property sets, you don't have an issue. If you have to import it down the line and stuff, the property sets, you might have to do a bit of reconfiguration. And I remember about about Adam specifying about the property sets. I cannot see the data. So if I go in here like to the property sets here for the points, if I go here to, let's say, label styles, you see right in here. If I go to the edit, because this is how I define it, you're gonna see that the Coco point one has, if I go here to the ID, you're gonna see that the Coco point in here says one has the property sets, yeah, it's available. So I do not have to type in the whole coding for it, so I can go in here, I can delete this stuff in here, go in the property sets, figure out which one I have it, and I click on this, stuff, and it fills it out for you, yeah. Now what happens is like, for line work and stuff, that property sets, this property sets, what's called a menu is not available. I don't know if it's a bug or if it's stuff, but look, or maybe something that, we have to reach out to Autodesk about it. But if I go here to the lines, let's say general lines, if I go here to this one, edit, if I go, in the same, pretty much in the same section, line data, if I go here in the property sets, you're gonna see that I do not have that one. I don't have a property sets here to fill in the stuff for me. So the idea to this stuff here, how you fill out, the property sets, you are supposed to do it, the old-fashioned way. You have to know, like, pretty much, what's the property set definition name and which definition in the property set you are supposed to point out. So this is gonna be like, arrow, square, like this stuff. Maybe be a property set, and then column. It'd be like COA, I guess it's utility and stuff. So it'd be like COA utility, I guess I forgot what it is. And then it'll be like, utility description and stuff, yeah. So what you get at the end, pretty much you have to get this COA polyline, and then, utility, and then, column utility description. And once you have stuff in here, that pretty much, gets filled in for you, yeah. So this is stuff, maybe like, some other stuff. Let's see, do I have a property set here for surfaces, label styles? There's a contours, labels. Let's see here, edit. If I go here to the label for a surface elevation, do I have a property set for it? No, I do not have this for this one. So maybe I have to add some stuff for it. But yeah, you see like you can use them and stuff, but yeah, for us, typically we don't label in the production file or the multiplayer production file. we keep most of the labels in the base file. Yeah, so pretty much the production file itself is just a cut sheet of the base file. Yeah. Okay, so that's all I have. Any other questions, Well? Yeah, so Adam, I answered your question to that one. Yeah, so pretty much it looks like you found property sets. Menu, you find it somewhere, and somewhere you don't find it, so you have to do it yourself.
Yeah, it looks like just do it in another feature and just copy it over would be the faster way to do it.
Yeah, and that's as like pretty much looks like we in Civil3D we play with Civil3D data. I mean like dynamic data labels and stuff. But most of our design relies on 2D data legacy, polylines, lines, arcs, and stuff. So pretty much, I mean, unless you use like Civil3D labels everywhere, to have it all nice, beautiful, readable, or if you use like I don't know, like multi-leaders, but multi-leaders you always have to deal with rotate to view. So yeah, that's pretty much what we have to deal with. Do you guys think about any other uses for it? Like do you see anything else that you could use it for?
Well, if we could translate what's in the shapefile data directly on into the property set data, that would be great.
Yeah, and that's what I was like, that's what I was looking at. It looks like Autodesk is working on that, but when at the time when I was reading on it, it was 2018. It's 2020, and Autodesk is still working on it. So I guess we might see in 2022, 2023. I don't know when. But until then, for us, it's just a little another extra feature that you can use, to make our life easier. That sort of stuff. It's either makes it easier or makes it harder.
Well, have y'all looked at the plugin for ArcGIS? I understand that brings in a lot of the attached data.
Which plugin for ArcGIS? The connector?
No, the one I guess in ArcGIS. It's a plugin for AutoCAD. It's like AutoCAD for ArcGIS.
So the ArcGIS for AutoCAD, that's what I'm looking for?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess ArcGIS connector. I forgot, it's like the stuff, how you start. No, ArcGIS connector.
That's a plugin you have to add to.
No, I know it's like, when I start my AutoCAD, it starts, but I forgot, which one is
the add-in tab, maybe?
No, because typically my stuff, my ribbon, it's already stuff, add-ins. No, it's not. What is, I know it loads on my stuff, but I forgot, because, so the one before it was the 3.7.0, the version, and they came up, if everybody knows about it, they came up with the version 4.00, yeah. So the version 4.00 now, instead of you have to do like a net load on it, now it's pretty much is more or less like an app in AutoCAD, and it loads pretty much if I go to program files, Autodesk, AutoCAD, I forgot what is located, the stuff, the apps and stuff, but it's AutoCAD 2020, or it's part of the program data, I forgot what it is, the stuff, but it is the stuff, it loads, pretty much it loads, every time you start AutoCAD. So if I start AutoCAD, it loads the ArcGIS for AutoCAD. Now let me see if I find it, how you start that one, and then ArcGIS for AutoCAD command, I guess. Okay, so it looks like manual launch net. I know the net load, I guess it's already loaded, but I forgot what's the, I thought it has a command for it. Or maybe I have to go in here, type in on my ribbon, or
is that on the Manage tab?
Which on the
Manage?
Manage tab. No, it's not in here. I mean, I can net load it, but I think it's already net loaded already. I mean, because you're not loading the whole stuff. There's not like before. It does in program files, it says ArcGIS for AutoCAD. Now it's loaded, with your software. So what happens in here, if I start in here, I'm going to say here no, because I've done saving this stuff in here, showing the stuff. No. So in here, if I start, now this is my custom one. So pretty much, looks like I have to add it to my custom one. But if I start here, Civil3D 2020. So if I start the stock one, once you install the app, stuff, you're gonna start with your AutoCAD. So it's like, once the Civil3D loads, it also loads the app for it. Might take a little bit. I borrowed the license before the meeting, so I'm not supposed to be connected to VPN, so that's good for me. It looks like in November, half of our licenses are gonna switch to the cloud licensing, to the named user. So that's gonna make my life even easier. So this one loads, takes forever sometimes.
Yeah, nice to hear someone else that's actually okay and happy about the change to named users. And I agree, it does make it a lot easier.
I mean, with the current stuff where like working from home. Okay, I don't care. Did it load in here? You sucker. Where are you? Now it's CUI. I forgot what is stuff, because but typically loads up on the top, in here to say like RGS for AutoCAD. RGS for RGS publish. No, it's not the. It's map RGS connector is not that one. This the one? Or there's something else? Yeah, I've seen it, so pretty much I installed it and stuff, and this it comes as a. Nah, it's not that one. I know it's attached to my stuff. Let me see in here. CUI, current partial customization file, feature vehicle, content planning, analysis. I don't know where's the stuff. Because the stuff is not loaded anymore. It's not a net load anymore, so it's like program data, Autodesk 2020. No, I don't know what it is, but that one just connects you to your to your RGS online and all that stuff, so it doesn't have to do anything with this one, no. Ralph.
Yeah, I think so, but I guess I wasn't sure on what exactly which data Tom was trying to bring in or attach, or was that Adam?
Maybe I didn't install the edges for AutoCAD yet for my stuff. Yeah, no, so the idea to this stuff, is pretty much, can you bring the data from like GS, can you import the data, might be a shapefile. Let's say if you have a shapefile of the line work, yeah, that has like all those features. Of course, when you import it, it comes as object data. You could strip away the object data and stuff. But what if, like, when you import the line work, you can also import, maybe the fields, as and push it as a property set, so that's the one I'm looking at, because if you like streamline the GS data, but you can push like the data to AutoCAD and also push the extra data that you want for labeling to the property set, and maybe do it the other way around. So pretty much, let's say I do the work in AutoCAD, maybe add some property sets, there might be some automatic one. Can I push that data back to GS, as let's say fields? So that's what I'm looking at, for the property sets. At least, it's something that, we can pretty much, allows you to add extra property, pretty much Civil3D properties, objects, or data that can be added to objects that you can use, later. So, yeah, that's nice about it. But yeah, as Tom says about the licensing, working from home, pretty much, looks like, before we were all in the network and stuff. But now, like, I have my mobile workstation, my laptop, I have my data in SharePoint. And then the only stuff that was tied to the network, it was my AutoCAD. So pretty much every time I have to use AutoCAD, I have to be like connected to network, or I have to borrow and stuff. Now, at least with the name user, account, I can disconnect from VPN pretty much and work without being connected to the network and stuff. Now, Bentley, we're doing that one already for a while, so with the connection client. So I guess that's all I have for today. Maybe I'm gonna dive in more into the property sets, figure out like what else you can use it for, and maybe we can come back later for another session on this stuff. Maybe expand on it, and so, or maybe as Adam says, like might be one of those like sessions for like a monthly training, like a monthly like highlights. So we'll see. It's all good.
Yeah, that looked great. Looked pretty straightforward and nice to be able to add those labels. Like the street labels, and I like that. It's a nice, easy method to be able to rotate the street names.
Yeah, I mean, the idea for us is like we try to cut on amount of labeling, because it is like if you have, of course, I would not have to dive into people. So like it's like if you have the user trained the right way, you're gonna do all it perfect. But it is like if you're like maybe if you're on a project and it's a single user project, one user, then you can trust him on making sure that the stuff comes the right way. But you have let's say for example, you have a team designing a project, and in our case might be 5 or 6 people. Each of them have a different way to do stuff. So the idea of this stuff is like I give it more or less like I spoon feed you the data, and then you just type it in, the way it shows up in there. That's why lots of stuff on my end it's already predefined, and it's just like change me or that kind of stuff. So if for example when you build an alignment, it says like the alignment name is predefined to say change me. Otherwise you're gonna show up as change me. If your alignment name is gonna be change me. So okay, hopefully this one is helpful and stuff. See what you guys come up with and stuff, share it and stuff, and I'm gonna try to see what else I can use it for, and provide more data to it, so more info.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks, Trishka.
Yeah, not a problem. Anytime.
Thanks,
Okay.
Ishka.
Okay, thanks. Have a good one.